Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today's the 30th of April 2021. Right everyone, before we get into the news from today, I did want to give a quick shout out to this video live stream I did yesterday now on Bankless with David Hoffman and DC Investor here. I do these every week with David normally, almost every week normally, but this week we decided to bring on a guest in DC Investor, and it was a really great stream, went for just over an hour. We spent most of the time talking about, the current market movements, especially with regards to the ETH BTC ratio, what's driving all this value to Ethereum and ETH, and all that sort of stuff. So if you haven't watched it yet, I highly recommend going and giving it a kind of watch there, and also subscribe to the Bankless YouTube channel as well. It's a great resource, absolutely amazing, and obviously follow David Hoffman and DC Investor, which I'm sure a lot of you are already. But yeah, had a lot of fun doing that yesterday. So I think the biggest news from the last 24 hours was this tweet that came from Trent here, which is basically a screenshot of what I assume is the Ethereum core devs Discord channel. Oh, there we go, ETH R&D Discord channel here. So essentially, it's a screenshot of Tim Byko, basically the lead all core dev here, saying, "What I've said many times is that if I was a miner, I would plan to break even at the latest by end of year 2021. I much prefer to be too conservative in these predictions than not, but it's absolutely not a guarantee for a merge date. If I was a miner, I'd also be following these channels closely and updating my estimates based on actual progress." Now, this is obviously because, I've spoken about it a lot. The ETH1 to ETH2 merger is getting really close, and it's looking like we may be able to deliver it by the end of this year. But as Tim says here, this is just, conservative estimates. These are not, hard set in stone dates. Something could happen that pushes this back, and maybe we don't see it till early next year. But I think the point is here that miners need to be ready and prepared for this, because as soon as the merger happens, miner revenue drops to zero from Ethereum. They get no more block rewards, they get no more fees, and they get no more MEV as well. So from that perspective, if I was a miner, I'd be doing two things right now. I would have been stacking ETH for a long time, like all the excess ETH that I didn't have to spend on maintenance costs and electricity costs and all that sort of stuff and hardware costs, I would have stacked to stake, right, in ETH2. So, because they're obviously earning a lot of ETH these days. So instead of dumping it, I would have been stacking it. And at the same time, I would have, factored in, when the merger is going to happen. And I think factored in like a realistic date. I think 2022 was something that people were throwing around even a few months ago as a merge kind of date here. But then, instead the miners obviously, instead of doing all of that stuff there and kind of like averaging out their costs and things like that, they decided it'd be a good idea to they didn't attack Ethereum, but they kind of like postured as if they will. And it brought the merge closer to reality, right? It kind of sped up the merge here. So yeah, miners, with Ethereum, at this point, maybe they don't like Ethereum very much now because they haven't been, they haven't been treated well, and they haven't treated us well as a wider Ethereum community. And I think it's going to be an interesting breakup, that's for sure, right? Because the merge is really a breakup with miners. We get rid of them in favor of stakers. And they have a few options when that happens, right? They can either sell off their hardware and just stake with ETH, or just give up on mining, which I think a lot of them won't do. A lot of them enjoy mining. They enjoy the hobbyist aspect to it, and I totally get that and totally, understand that. So they have two options then. They can either continue the ETH1 chain as a miner-led fork, which would probably go nowhere in the long run. It may be called like Ethereum Classic or something dumb, and maybe some centralized exchange supports the asset so that as soon as that happens, it has monetary value, and then maybe there's some kind of like a short-term noise there and speculation. But I don't think any of the projects in the ecosystem, any of the infrastructure or app or projects or exchanges are going to support that as like the real Ethereum, right? The real Ethereum will be the merged Ethereum. So that's the first option. And I honestly expect them to do this because it's profitable if they can get a centralized exchange to list it, because there's going to be speculation around this. You can think about how many people are going to be speculating on this kind of like miner-led fork, knowing, they will know that it's basically pure speculation and that it's probably not going to overtake Ethereum or anything like that. Definitely not going to overtake Ethereum in value. But it basically means everyone would get free coins. So what would happen is we have basically two Ethereums essentially. I guess like a third because you have Ethereum Classic now, but it would be the miner-led fork, and then it would be the merged. Now, obviously, the merged ETH, with proof of stake and everything, is the canonical Ethereum. It's what everyone's going to agree on as the Ethereum chain. But you will still get, maybe these forked tokens if there is a miner-led fork, and then you'll be able to sell them. I know what I'm doing, right? If it's done kind of like in the simplest way, you'll get 1-to-1. So you'll get like one forked ETH for every ETH that you had at the time of the kind of merge here. And I know what I'll be doing. I'll be dumping it all for ETH, like straight away. and that's what a lot of people are going to be doing. And I don't even care if it pumps in the short term. I'm not going to take that risk. But I just think it's a no-brainer for miners to do this if they're able to get a centralized exchange on board. And, why do I keep going on about that? Well, because unless the asset has value, then it's not going to be worth the miners' time to actually mine this because they're going to be losing money. They won't be able to sell this asset right anywhere. So if they can get one of these exchanges on board, then I think that would give it some legs. Maybe Binance just supports it because that's what they do, right? If that happens, it'd be pretty noisy. But other than that, the kind of like, I guess, other than like doing a miner-led fork here, the second thing they can do is just become stakers, right? And sell off their hardware and put that money into staking on ETH. Now, I think, there's probably a lot that are already planning to do that, but on the flip side, there are a lot that love mining and will just go mine on another chain or something like that shares the same kind of hashing algorithm as Ethereum. It's not going to be anywhere near as profitable, but it's going to be something, right? And I actually thought it was funny. I think what did Trent say here? This person replied, "Discount GPUs on eBay soon." And Trent goes, "Hobbyists won't have any idea what is happening, LMAO." Which I thought was quite funny because there's a lot of I don't know if you've been paying attention to the gaming world, but right now there's a lot of gamers really frustrated with miners because they can't buy a graphics card, right? Or the new ones, they're all out of stock because miners have been buying them all up. So there's going to be like a flood on the market of these GPUs once the merger happens, and they're going to be like, what the hell is that going on? And that might lead to them being like, oh wow, Ethereum's not actually mining anymore, and they might stop hating on Ethereum for being associated with kind of like those stock shortages. But anyway, this is cool. I obviously the two things I'm most looking forward to, if I had to make a list and put two at the top, it would be EIP 1559 and the merger for this year at least. So yeah, I mean, if we get the merger by end of year, that's just stupidly bullish, I think. So not holding my breath, but we'll see how it goes from there. So Santiago, again, I mean, this is, I don't know, what is this, the fourth or fifth day in a row that I featured one of his tweets here. But anyway, he put out another amazing tweet where he said, "A perpetual sense you're missing something, never fully caught up to a breakneck pace of innovation, the endless climb sustained by intellectual curiosity and grit. That's when you know you're at the right place, chasing the right dream, timing falls into place." This is exactly how I feel about Ethereum and crypto, in general. And that's exactly why I think, what a lot of you would feel as well, and why I do this show every day, is that, like, even though I try to cover, like, absolutely everything that's happening within the Ethereum and crypto ecosystem, and try to be on top of everything, I am one person and I'm definitely going to miss things, right? There is just so much happening. I'm not even talking about like the big news events, but just like the things happening within the individual projects. So if you go into each individual project and just like read the forums or go in the Discord channel, there's just stuff happening all the time. And just like incredible innovation, products coming out all the time. You can get like really easy alpha by just going into the Discord channels and following along with the conversations or reading the forum posts and things like that. So from that point of view, I think that's what keeps a lot of people in this ecosystem interested, is the fact that there's so much going on and there's so much happening all the time, and you can actually directly have like a place in this growth from both a financial perspective and a social perspective. It's just what keeps so many people interested. And you no longer even need to be like attach your real identity to any of this stuff. There are plenty of anon or pseudonymous accounts on Twitter that have massive followings and that have a lot of alpha, and they share a lot of good education and some of them start DeFi projects and things like that and add a ton of value to the ecosystem. So we're basically entering this kind of like new world of perpetual kind of, as Santiago puts here, perpetual sense that you're missing something, right? Perpetual sense of wonder and of awe of all the information going on in this ecosystem. And I know it's what keeps me going. It's definitely what kept me going through the bear market. Obviously, the monetary side of things is what keeps a lot of people kind of like interested as well, and it's really fun to follow that along. But during a bear market, like none of that stuff's happening. So what have you got? You've got the innovation, the projects, the fundamentals, and they were like still chugging along just as they are now in the bear market. There were so many things that happened. I remember talking to friends about it, and I'm like, guys, if this happened in a bull market, this would send ETH to like 10k, or like this would make ETH go up in price. But because it was a bear market, obviously that wasn't happening because the momentum wasn't there. But now in this ecosystem, we have so many different kind of points of good and bad news, and I think that the ecosystem, the way I look at kind of like the market is that it tends to price in things that happened like a while ago. Like we've known about 1559 since April of 2019. And now, just now, the market is seemingly pricing that in. It's become a big narrative. Everyone is like on board with it and they're being like, holy shit, this is going to be awesome for ETH. Same with the merge. We knew that ETH1 and ETH2 was going to be merged eventually because we knew ETH2 was going to be a separate network a very long time ago. But the market takes forever to catch up to these things. And as I explained yesterday, I don't believe in the efficient market hypothesis at all. I think it's total crap. And these are the reasons. So when you kind of couple that, all the stuff that we're building now, right, and all of the bleeding edge stuff that's happening that people have no idea about, especially in the layer 2 space, I think people still have no idea about, I think that might take a while to get priced in as well. And even if you look at something like Polygon with Matic, and disclosure here, I'm an advisor to Polygon, but I just want to use this as an obvious example of the layer 2 / scaling narrative taking off. A few months ago, I think Matic was like 2 cents or something like that, and now it's at 90 cents. So if you had known, and if you had been paying attention to the narrative surrounding scaling, surrounding Matic and then rebranding to Polygon and onboarding all of these projects, you would have been able to capture that alpha. You would have been able to make a 45x just from paying attention and having conviction on these sorts of things. So from that perspective, it's just wild when I see this stuff happening because, it took it's only recently that the Matic price has gone like nuts, right? And that's just pricing in everything that was already known from a few months ago. So whenever someone used to tell me, oh, EIP 1559 is already priced in, and this was happening as late as last year, I was like, no, it's not. It's not at all. I'm telling you now, it won't be priced in until we pretty much have a date for it. And it won't be like a talking point until we have a date for it. And sure enough, until we actually had like that July timeline given a couple of months ago, most people had, were just like still on the fence about it. And most people probably didn't even know about it. So yeah, that kind of stuff plays out all the time. And that's why I think it keeps me very interested in this ecosystem, is because being able to see things months or years before they happen is your greatest source of alpha. And I hope that I can share a lot of that on the refuel here. I mean, I share pretty much everything that I'm thinking every day on here, and in my newsletter and everything like that. I don't try to hide anything. Like, I don't believe in doing that, but even still, it does take like it's not enough to know about it. You have to make a bet as well. You can't just be like, oh, I knew this was coming, but I didn't make a bet by like maybe buying a token or doing something like that. If you didn't do that, then really, I mean, it didn't really mean anything for you at the end of the day. You can tell people, I told you so, but you don't, you didn't get anything out of it, so to speak. So yeah, just a little bit, I guess, like a ramble there about that. Maybe Santiago will make his 6th appearance on the refuel on Monday. We'll see about that. But yeah, another great tweet from him here. So the Documenting Ethereum account put out this tweet today where they said Ethereum progress to being in the top 10 assets in the world is at 50%. And now this got me thinking. I was like, wow, holy shit. What is Ethereum? Like, where is it placed right now? I think it's at like number 30 or something in terms of like the most valuable assets in the world. Number 30, that's crazy. And I think Bitcoin is in the top 10 because it's $1 trillion. So when you look at this, I mean, we're still so early, but these assets are worth so much. Like, and the reason why I say we're still so early is because crypto assets are not integrated in most of the traditional finance system yet. Most people don't own crypto assets yet. So when you look at that and you look at the fact that these things are already worth like trillions of dollars, like Bitcoin being worth $1 trillion, ETH being worth over 300 billion now, you kind of think about it and you're like, okay, holy shit, how valuable can these things get? Like, have we discovered a new way of kind of like generating value here? And I think we have. I think crypto assets in general are memes, kind of like memes in a market. It's essentially a meme market. The platform with the best memes, the best information flow, gets the most value, I think. And that's simply because of the fact that it's basically, I think it's Metcalfe's or Moore's law. It's one of those laws where it says, basically follows a network effect. So, obviously network effects can grow exponentially. So the more people that kind of hear about it, the more people hear about it, and so on and so forth. So if we look at that, and if you look at kind of like the adoption of these things and the value of these things, they kind of follow that. Like the more people that know about Ethereum and know about ETH, the more people buy ETH, right? It's pretty obvious, but when you kind of look at this, you kind of think to yourself, okay, well, Ethereum is digitally native. Most of the world, I guess, maybe half of the world at this point has access to the internet. And people want to, people need money, people need assets, people need to do financial things. So how big can this thing get? And I've spoken about this a lot on the Refuel. Obviously, I gave my bull case the other day for ETH, and my prediction is this can get like much bigger than any of us think it can. And I said $100,000 ETH, and I said $10 trillion market cap, and then the other day I said $100 trillion market cap. I think measuring this stuff in USD terms is going to become irrelevant eventually, because one, you have to consider that I do think that these assets are going to become the reserve assets for the globe. I don't think fiat money is going anywhere, but I think what's going to happen is that we're going to see certain nation states start printing fiat money to buy these assets. Because when you think about it, every government can print money to purchase whatever they want. Now, they haven't been doing that to purchase crypto that we know of yet, but they do that to purchase bonds and stuff like that. And, the US just did a lot of this over the last year. So from that perspective, if they, and that trickles into crypto as well, but if they start directly printing their own money and devaluing their own currency because they want to stockpile BTC or ETH or other digital assets, what do you think that's going to do to the price of these things? It's not going to be worth measuring it in USD anymore. 1 ETH equals 1 ETH always, right? I know a lot of us track our wealth in fiat, in USD, euros, AUD, whatever. But when you really think about it, eventually you'll just be able to price everything in these crypto assets, and these will be the native monies. And maybe you don't price everything in ETH, but you price something in a derivative of ETH, or something that's built with ETH backing it, something like RAI, right? Which is not pegged to anything, it's pegged to itself. So if that works out in the long run, we could have essentially a stable ETH where you basically just price goods in RAI or something like that, and ETH backs up this whole system. So, this is me kind of trying to dream bigger dreams here. Swish Crypto, the guy who put out the 79-page report the other day, his tagline really stuck with me because he said, a plea to Ethereans to dream bigger dreams. Because at this point in time, I thought I was dreaming big, but I really wasn't. Because if you want to dream big, you need to say some crazy things. Everyone talks about the flippening and then is like, okay, well, the flippening is going to be awesome when ETH flips Bitcoin. It's like, okay, yeah, it's cool, but like, is that it? Like, we should be aiming much higher than that. We should be dreaming much bigger than that. Bitcoin is just one thing that we have that is in, Ethereum's way to kind of like being, I guess, like dominant in this industry and outside of it too. So I think dreaming bigger dreams, kind of like thinking about how Ethereum can be the backbone of the entire world and global financial system, and maybe even the multi-planetary financial system in the future, means that we should stop measuring ETH against USD one day, because the denominator is worthless essentially. Government's going to keep printing money. Fiat eventually is going to lose so much of its value to these assets, these hard assets, that it's just going to be worthless pricing them in that. And it's going to be wild, because maybe one day people start pricing USD in ETH, right? Where it becomes the consensus that USD is like the quote unquote altcoin, or like the fiat, the kind of like speculative asset that just loses value over time, and ETH is like the strong asset that everyone wants to own. So yeah, there's me dreaming some bigger dreams. I'll leave it at that for now and move on here. So the flexible leverage index from the Index Co-op, reached a $50 million market cap today, which is super awesome to see. Everyone who's bought this over the last few weeks is in some pretty massive profit. So for those who don't know what this is, this basically gives you automated leveraged exposure to ETH. So essentially what it allows you to do is buy the Fly token, and you can automatically get a leverage index that is managed by DeFi Pulse in the back end here. It's not like 100x leverage or anything like that. It's 2x leverage. But by doing this, you get exposure to 2 times the upside on ETH, or kind of like 2 times the downside here. Obviously, like either way here. But from that perspective, obviously the Fly price goes up with the ETH price as well. But this has only got released, I think, maybe a couple months ago or something like that. Not too long ago. So yeah, this is really, really awesome to see. If you haven't checked this out yet, I suggest you go and do so. Disclosure here, I work closely with Set, who works on the index co-op here as well. So I am shilling it a little bit because of that, but at the same time, I think it's just a really great product. I think, people who want to get a leveraged exposure to ETH but don't want to manage it themselves, this is exactly the product for you. So I'll leave it at that. You can go check it out if you want to. So Hayden Adams posted, or at least shared a post from the Lido research forum today, which was basically a Lido ST-ETH Uniswap v3 pool proposal. So basically what this pool would allow users to do is deposit WST ETH, so wrapped staked ETH against ETH in a balanced amount and receive LP tokens on Uniswap v3. And this would basically automatically fit a range. A lot of you will remember when I explained what Uniswap v3 brings, that concentrated liquidity, where you can actually provide liquidity in a certain range. And this will make basically the staked ETH and ETH pair here incredibly liquid on Uniswap. But other than this, what I did want to talk about is that Uniswap v3 is coming out next week, guys. Like Wednesday next week is when it's going live, unless there's a delay. But I don't expect there to be a delay. I don't expect Uniswap to rug us there. But that's so close. It feels like it's been forever, but it really hasn't since they announced it. And my dream is still that they release a layer 2 Uniswap on the same day. I don't think they will. I hope they release it in May as well, like on Optimism, because I think that would be absolutely massive for both Optimism and Uniswap, and for the kind of crypto space as a whole. I think it would bring a lot of users back, because a lot of users at the end of the day just want to be able to do like token swaps, right? And ape in and out of things, so to speak. So if we get Uniswap on layer 2 in May, that's going to be a huge kind of driver, I think, for the kind of scalability narrative that Ethereum is enjoying right now. And then there's other platforms going live as well. I've talked ad nauseum about them. I'm not going to repeat myself here, but it's just going to be an exciting week next week, I think, with V3 going live. Even if it only goes live on layer 1, I'm curious to see how quickly people move from V2 to V3. I think it's going to be a pretty quick movement, because V3 will give you more kind of like fee revenue here, and it will give you kind of like better efficiency on your liquidity, so you can essentially unlock a lot of your capital and move it somewhere else. So maybe a lot of that moves to Aave, or a lot of that moves to Maker, to kind of like draw DAI and buy more ETH or something like that. I think this is just going to be really wild to watch. So I'm very much looking forward to V3's release next week. So dYdX had a promo that they were running where they basically had a deposit bonus. I think it was $50 if you signed up for dYdX's layer 2 exchange here. And 1,800 new users signed up within, I think, maybe 48 hours or something like that. So the promotion has ended now. But as dYdX says here, this is a sign of strong demand for more users to onboard onto layer 2. Obviously, people are hungry, like very, very hungry for scalability right now. They're trying to get it wherever they can. So the more we can push people to these kind of like secure layer 2 solutions like dYdX, the better. And the more we can push people to socially aligned and maybe a bit less secure, but socially aligned and kind of like technically aligned kind of like scalability solutions like Polygon, the better as well. I personally, hope to see a lot of the users that kind of like got onboarded through BSC coming over to Ethereum once we're scaled, and once we can kind of like offer them something that they can't get on BSC, which is the constant innovation on Ethereum and the much better and smoother experiences. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how that plays out over the next couple months. So Tetranode put out another kind of like whiteboard thread here where he basically he calls it today's sermon, EIP 1559 and the end of proof of work. So he's essentially got some whiteboards here he must have been explaining it to someone about like what the old tokenomics for ETH look like before 1559 and what the new tokenomics look like post 1559. Now I've spoken about this myself a lot, so I won't go over it now. This tweet will be linked in the YouTube description. You can go check it out. But I think it's a really good visual way of representing what's going to happen. And TLDR, the implication is that ETH's price is going to go up because there's less dumping and there's more burning of ETH, right? And then also the merge, right? The end of proof of work, which I spoke about just before on the Daily Gwei newsletter, means that ETH selling pressure is falling off a cliff. ETH issuance is falling off a cliff. There are diamond-handed holders with ETH2 stakers, as Tetranode puts it here. And he says this is the path to a $100,000 ETH. Yes, it is. This is the path to get there. If it wasn't for 1559 and the merger here and proof of stake, I don't think ETH would be anywhere near as valuable as it is now. But this is the path. And I think we're gonna get there a lot sooner than maybe even I predicted. I mean, I thought it was gonna happen in like 10 years or something like that. Maybe we get there before that. Again, going back to dreaming bigger dreams, maybe we get there like in the next five or less kind of years, because there's just gonna be so much demand for ETH, regardless of market conditions, because of the fact that even if there's, so say the market's quiet, right? And people just want to do yield farming or like put their stable coins in some yield farm, they still have to pay ETH fees. ETH is still going to get burned. There's still going to be massive kind of, I guess, like demand to use the Ethereum network. And people are still going to want to stake. And there's still going to be, way less selling pressure during down markets because there's going to be no more mining. When you take that all together, it's kind of hard not to see this crazy price, $100,000 ETH getting reached much sooner than we think it will. But yeah, anyway, I'll leave it at that for now. Go check out Tetranode's tweet thread here to get to be able to look at these pictures in more detail. So Coinbase announced that it's now allowing US users to buy crypto directly with PayPal. This is just another way to onboard people, right? PayPal has got crypto support themselves, but they don't have as many assets as Coinbase does. So now Coinbase users can essentially just use their existing PayPal account to buy crypto assets, which is something that I didn't see many people talking about, but I think it's actually a huge deal. Because when you think about it, everything's a funnel, right? Like you've either got a big funnel or a small funnel or in between of users. If you've got a really big funnel, you can fit more users through. So Coinbase being able to support, ACH transfer, bank transfers, purchases with credit cards, and PayPal, that's just widening the funnel of people that they can reach. So if they can reach a few hundred million people, if they can reach like every US kind of citizen, right, then they can offer crypto to every US citizen, which is a big deal. And I'm actually surprised not more people were talking about this today. Very surprised, because I think this is incredibly bullish. So yeah, that's kind of like why it's bullish, is because it's just widening the funnel of people that can be onboarded into this ecosystem here. Last up here, we have a new TurboGeth release from the TurboGeth team, of course. This includes EIP 1559 and the base fee opcode support. So if you're running TurboGeth, definitely go download this. I think it's in alpha, so only kind of like users if you're comfortable with downloading an alpha version of it. But it's great to see that 1559 clients are already coming out here. And for those who don't know what TurboGeth is, it's essentially a fork of Geth that aims to be much faster than Geth, I think while basically giving up some security properties to achieve that speed. I'm not entirely sure. I think the goal is to basically make it so that you don't give up security properties here. But anyway, if you're running an Ethereum full node, which again you should be, an ETH1 full node, definitely go check out TurboGeth if you haven't yet. It's a really great node, and it lets you sync much faster than the other nodes, I think, as well. So if you just need to spin up a node really quickly, then you can do so with TurboGeth here. But anyway, that is it for today's episode, everyone. Thank you again for watching and listening. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all next week. Oh, and don't forget, I will be doing a Daily Gwei data pump this weekend. Expect that on probably Sunday. I won't forget, and I'll make time for it for sure. It'll be covering March and April and all data, on-chain data analytics for Ethereum and DeFi. It's been a big 2 months, so I can't wait to get into it, and I can't wait to share it with you all. But yeah, I'll catch you all next week on the Refuel.